Good day. This is H. Robert Silverstein, MD, for West Hartford Cable Access TV and the Preventive Medicine Center. Today, we're going to talk about the holidays, and it's the problem with the holidays is the weight gain. And from my standpoint, there are other problems, there are other benefits. The holidays are kind of a happy period, although there is a known holiday depression. So I hope everybody is feeling well and appreciative of all the gifts they've been given. When you take a look at the gifts and you look at the downsides, you're way ahead with the gifts just in general. With regard to food, clothing, shelter, yes, there are bills that bother everybody. But in balance, life is very good at the present time. To be perfectly honest, we live better than 95 to 99% of the people who have ever existed on this planet. Now, usually I talk about grains, vegetables, beans, fruit, nuts, and seeds, but today we're going to talk about some of the exceptions. For instance, I have discussed this before, but what about coffee? Coffee, I make a joke, kind of a snide joke, and also tell the truth. Coffee is dirty water. Now, that's just trying to be a little bit funny. But the fact of the matter is there are some benefits as well as some downsides. Recently, I just read an article about people who drink coffee have a reduced incidence of atrial fibrillation. Now, I think that's sort of backwards in interpretation. What that really says is the people who can tolerate coffee, to me, people who can tolerate coffee do not have the other risk factors for the development of atrial fibrillation and generally are in pretty good shape. People with acid reflux won't tolerate coffee, at least they shouldn't, because coffee causes relaxation of the valve at the bottom of the esophagus where it joins the stomach, and that allows reflux up the esophagus, causing esophagitis and Barrett syndrome. But as I said, there is a reduced incidence of atrial fibrillation in people who drink coffee. Now, what about tea? I feel differently about tea. Tea does not relax that valve, that sphincter, so that's safe. Even if it has caffeine, caffeine is not the issue. There's something about coffee. By the way, for those of you who make coffee, you really ought to run it through a paper filter. Recently, I haven't made that transition myself. I used to run it through a paper filter, and now I have a 24-karat gold-covered siphon that I use that I bought 100 years ago, so to speak. I looked it up on the internet, and now you can still buy them for $32. Now, that's not cheap, but on the other hand, that saves replacement of the paper filters. There are also material filters that you can use. I think the paper filters are probably more effective at reducing some of the chemicals that are problematic in coffee. Coffee has some good chemicals. Coffee has some bad chemicals. Getting back to the green tea discussion. So I think green tea and white tea. I like to recommend Adong. Adong is a Chinese supply store. Well, I mean, it's Chinese oriented. You can tell by the name, Adong. It's over just off New Britain Avenue. If you go past BJ's, turn left and go under that bridge for the trains, then you go down about 100 yards. There is an entrance into a small shopping center where there is supposedly a really good, I think it's Portuguese restaurant. Not inexpensive, but has been ranked as pretty effective, pretty tasty, pretty good cooking. I've had their soup, and one time, I don't know what I ordered, but it was an absolutely perfect chicken soup. And when I ordered it again, there was so much chicken in it that it hardly was any soup. Regardless, think about trying your time there. Going back to Adong, you can buy organic green tea and organic white tea, which is what I'm drinking today, combination, one each, in my thermos. Speaking of a thermos, changing the subject, I'm looking to find a coated copper thermos. There are thermoses that are copper on the inside, but they're also copper on the outside. And I'd like to have some kind of protection like this one so that the outside surface doesn't get bent up. The reason is copper is the healthiest method of carrying liquids. It does not predispose to problems such as there was a study that was done in which they took a look at people who used to use copper containers for carrying water, and then they looked at them when the containers were aluminum, which are much lighter to carry. And it turns out that I don't remember what the health problem was, but the point being is the wisdom of the ages and the wisdom of the sages had selected copper because of its benign nature, and aluminum was not so benign and helpful. So going on, green tea and white tea. If you drink coffee, I say 2 cups a day is sort of the ideal or less. The body will tolerate 3 cups a day. Beyond that, I think you're drinking too much. There are some people who really say that in a certain sense, you almost can't drink too much coffee. Now, clearly, they don't mean 10 or 15 cups a day, but they mean 3, 5, 7 cups a day. I don't agree with that. Coffee is a kind of speed, and you can feel that effect when you drink coffee, particularly if you've never drunk coffee before. Interestingly, one of the sillinesses is when people say that espresso has the same coffee content as does regular coffee. And that's absolutely absurd because the extraction technique is so much more effective. Whatever caffeine is in the espresso grind is put into the cup of espresso. I don't know if the study studied espresso coffee grounds or they studied espresso coffee in the cup. But I can assure you, personally experienced, that espresso will give me rapid heartbeat, and coffee does not give me a rapid heartbeat unless I have more than 2 cups a day. All right, so that's coffee. And then what about alcohol? Alcohol is sort of like Ralph Nader's book about the Chevrolet Corvair, which, as it turns out, was not actually accurate in its discussion, according to what I've read more recently, or was not fair, was not accurate. The Corvair was apparently nothing different than than other models at the same time. But regardless, the name of the book by Nader was very well chosen. It was called Unsafe at Any Speed. A study I read recently about alcohol showed that there was a mortality difference if you had 1 to 3 drinks a week. Personally, I think that mortality risk is very low. And so my belief is unless you have a reason not to drink alcohol, such as you are a former alcoholic, or you have Barrett's esophagus, or you have stomach ulcers, or you have disturbed sleep, then probably 4 drinks a week or less is acceptable. I did not say 4 a night, I said 4 a week. Now, should you drink 4 drinks in one night? I don't think that's smart either. So the bottom line is that 4 drinks a week or less split up, maybe 2 drinks at any one time would be the acceptable. And again, it's like I said, I don't believe there is no risk, but I believe the risk is minimal from alcohol. Breathe, drink, marijuana seems to be everywhere. I park at St. Francis, and so the garage where I park is a fair distance away from my office, and so I walk outside. And I smell that skunk smell. I don't mean that it's a bad smell. What I mean is it smells like a skunk, the current marijuana. And it's also much stronger. Marijuana is much more of a problem than people believe. It does disturb sleep. It is a gateway drug to other drugs. That's been argued. I disagree. It is a gateway entrance into other drugs. There's an upside to marijuana. There's an upside to alcohol. You get a kind of a positive, relaxed feeling, but the fact of the matter is it has far more downsides than upsides. And so I am not recommending marijuana. Someone I know talked about sleep recently, and they wanted to know my take on melatonin. An article just came out about the melatonin. People who took melatonin had an increased risk for the development of heart failure. The risk was like 2.7% in non-users and 4.3% in users. That's still comparatively low, but the statistics were well analyzed by, I believe, John Mandrola, who is a kind of living saint. He's a cardiologist in Kentucky, I believe, and he does these analysis papers that are absolutely superb. I don't agree with him on everything, but he discussed the study that talked about the upsides and the downsides of that. And the bottom line is he felt that the study about melatonin causing heart failure was not done correctly, and I'm in agreement with that. So breathe and drink and then eat. We won't spend a whole lot of time on that. The human biology is essentially vegan, whether you and I like it or not. The most dangerous foods are what are called processed meats: sausage, bacon, sausage, bacon, hot dogs. Those things have sufficient chemicals in them that predispose to both heart disease and cancer. So I really don't recommend those. What about brown rice, vegetables, beans, fruit, nuts, and seeds? Well, I think that's what we are supposed to eat. So I believe the human body is essentially vegan. Gladiators who were massively muscular were 99% vegan. So what's my point? My point is you can be very muscular, very athletic, eating lentil barley soups. You don't have to have fish, chicken, turkey, meat, cheese, and eggs, all of which raise cholesterol and do not contain any fiber, which is what we are supposed to have. I have a slide on my slideshow that shows happy symbiotic microbiome living in the intestine. What did I just say? What I just said was that there are organisms that live in our intestines, and the ones that survive are dependent upon what comes down the pike, meaning food, that they can munch on themselves, and then they secrete various things that are, if you eat the right diet, they secrete good things that get into the bloodstream and do good things to the human body. On the other hand, if you have a very fish, chicken, turkey, meat, cheese, and egg type diet, which is what we experience on Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, it's okay to party once in a while, but you have to be careful not to party too often. And of course, with the fish, chicken, turkey, meat, cheese, and egg diet, you're more likely to gain weight. Animal protein is the main cause of weight gain: fish, chicken, turkey, meat, cheese, and egg. I make another snide joke when asked, well, what do you think about fish? I say it's the best of the worst. The worst being animal protein, but fish is better than the others. Now, Thanksgiving generally means turkey, and Christmas may mean a ham. I don't know if there's a specific animal protein for New Year's, but it's okay to do those things once in a while, but not on the daily basis. Turns out that 75% of the food intake in the United States is ultra processed, which of course causes diseases. Why do you think we have so much diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, need for open heart surgery, angioplasty, stents, and cancers? And the answer is these are the chemicals. These foods go into the intestines. The microbiome that lives there responds to the food type and secretes either good or bad things. And the fish, chicken, turkey, meat, cheese, and egg diet has to be very carefully limited, or you get the wrong microbiome living in the intestine, secreting the wrong products. I understand that it is our nature to have fish, chicken, turkey, meat, cheese, and eggs as the center of our plate. But it's called pay me now or pay me later. I didn't say life was supposed to be that easy and that convenient. I have an essay on my website. If you want to see it, go to www, obviously, .the Preventive Medicine Center.org, www.thepmc.org. And on that website, you'll find an essay called I Don't Like Brown Rice, Vegetables, and Beans. And the very next sentence is, that's a true statement. I don't like them. And I go on to point out the fish, chicken, turkey, meat, cheese, and eggs are tastier, easier to make, not that expensive, and frankly is what we are drawn to. But what we are drawn to has nothing to do with what we're supposed to do. So move towards brown rice, vegetables, beans, fruit, nuts, and seeds. On the other hand, if you're overweight, how do I define overweight? Overweight means when you look down at your tummy, you can see where the muscles meet the muscles. And if you're not there, then you're overweight. Some people will say, I'll never get there. Just work on it. Do the best you can at getting there. So the correct definition for weight is to look down at the tummy and see if you can see where the muscles meet the muscles. I do not think six-pack abs are a good idea. In fact, I think they're a bad idea because it probably takes excess supplements and too much exercise to get there. And there's an upside and a downside to exercise. What exercise do I recommend? I'm recommending more and more Tai Chi. Tai Chi is a Chinese exercise program. I urge you to start looking at those videos. If it takes more than a minute to get into the actual exercise, then that's someone trying to sell you something. If it takes about 20 seconds to get in, start doing those exercises. They're good for the back. They're good for balance. They're good for strength. They're good for flexibility. They're good for your mood. And I am a believer in traditional Chinese medicine's concept of meridians, flow of energy within the body. And as a matter of fact, acupuncture is being shown to be effective under certain circumstances. Somebody's doing the real tough studies to define whether or not it's helpful. And in some cases, acupuncture is being found helpful. Well, Tai Chi sort of opens up the proper channels, they're called, the proper meridians, and stimulates them the right way, not the wrong way. And as a result, you gain a benefit. So I think that swimming is the single best exercise. Cross-country skiing, that action is probably second. Tai Chi is probably third. And then resistance training, and I'm not talking about heavy weights. I'm talking about 5 and 10 pounds in each hand, and just doing this for a minute or two, a couple of times a day. The more you do, the better, but at least you're doing some, and that's really the key, which is getting started. So breathe, drink, eat, exercise, and then unrealistic expectations. Remember, this is about the concept of diseases are made to happen. All the high blood pressure, all the high cholesterol, all the high triglycerides, all the need for an angioplasty or a stent, or people who've had a heart attack or a stroke, in 95% of the cases, those were conditions that were created by virtue of what the patient did. And if the patient stops doing them, to a point, they are reversible. So I strongly recommend getting started in that direction. Hardening the arteries can be reversed with naturally or with medication. So do it. Get started. And you can start now. The idea of waiting until January 1st is okay, but why not start a little bit now? a little bit with your exercise. Now, it's easiest probably to start exercise before starting a diet, because it turns out that exercise will help you stick to what your diet is, because you know you're doing the right thing, and that spills over into your deciding about what to eat and what not to eat. Now, if you want to do it the other way around, diet first, and actually I like to use the word live it, as opposed to diet, and that would be berries, cooked vegetables, vegetable soup, and beans if you're overweight, which I think 99% of people are. 99% of Americans are overweight by virtue of the definition of abdominal clear lines of definition and demarcation. So enjoy the holidays, but try to avoid the standard 10-pound weight gain during the holidays, which occurs primarily because of increased meat intake. Yes, there are desserts and there's eggnog and so on and so on, but do as best you can with that. Oh my goodness, that time went by in a hurry. So if you have any questions about any of these issues, you may contact me at the office, 860-549-3444 at the Preventive Medicine Center. You will find an immense amount of information on the website, the PMC, thepmc.org, thepmc.org, and then you just get started. Just get started with some of the Tai Chi. Just get started with more vegetables. Begin to think of beans as your protein. Today I'm having a warm salad for lunch, which is going to be chickpea tofu with various vegetables, California blend, and mushrooms. And I will use some Fini, F-I-N-I, vinegar, as well as unfiltered, organic, extra virgin olive oil by Il Casolari. Both of those can be obtained at Big Y. Whole Foods has unfiltered olive oils, except they don't look unfiltered to me. There is right now, if you want the organic Il Casolari, you have to order it online. Both Whole Foods and Big Y have the Fini, F-I-N-I, balsamic vinegar, which is really fabulous when combined with a little bit of oil. All right, I think that's it. If you have any questions, please call me. And otherwise, good day. Enjoy the holidays. Don't overdo it. Start some exercise. Goal, abdominal clear lines of definition and demarcation, which turns out to be about 15% body fat in men and about 20% body fat in women. Good day, and God bless you all, and see you next time.